on, everyone? It's Johnny here with TraderX. I hope you guys are all having a beautiful Friday today. And I wanted to go ahead and fill you guys in on how my day trading went today. So as you guys can see, I was up $11, small green day. And then this was everything I traded, the P&L for each one. And over here are my filled orders, right? So what time I bought into everything and at what prices. So for today's video, I mainly wanted to focus on something I really struggled with in my trading today, and that was managing my emotions. So managing emotions is something that every trader struggles with, right, at some point, and it's something that can be very counterproductive to someone's trading. So I want to walk you guys through exactly why I may have gotten angry today, and if you guys have been following in with the videos this whole past week, you guys know I've been getting burned a bit on SQs, right? So as if we take a bigger time frame of the Nasdaq right now, or look at a bigger time frame, you can see that it's been very overextended. It's been pushing, riding the EMA up and making these higher highs and higher lows. And so I personally viewed it to be very overextended, which is why I was focusing on SQs this week. But as you guys know, this thing's been continuing to run and it's been burning me and my SQs positions. So what I typically saw was that the Nasdaq would tend to trade between the bottom and top VWAP, right? As you guys can see, it'll get rejected by the top VWAP, fall to the bottom, bounce up to the top, go back to the bottom. So it's a very simple pattern, yet I was overcomplicating it, right? So it was doing it all over here, and then once it trades between these areas of support, and then like over here, you guys can see this area of resistance. Once it's able to finally break these areas of resistance, it'll tend to go on a run and consolidate again before these previous resistance levels can act as new areas of support, right? So when a stock typically gets rejected somewhere, if it's able to break above that resistance level, it can use it as a support later on. So as you guys can see later on over here, rather than, or as over here it was getting rejected, but rather than act as a resistance, it was actually acting as a support in the future. So that's something you guys want to look out for. But ultimately what I saw was right around these levels, the Nasdaq looked very overbought, right? So I was just trying to predict when to get into SQs, and I felt like once it broke above like these support levels, that it was actually gonna begin to break its pattern and start to go on a downtrend. Ultimately, that didn't end up happening, and I did a terrible, terrible job of cutting my losses. So as you guys can see from yesterday too, which I had a big red day, this thing I thought over here at these levels was very overextended. And so I decided to get into SQs because I viewed there to be a resistance. But as you guys know, this thing ultimately ended up running and stopping me out. So SQs was constantly burning me. And so I decided today that I was not going to let that happen again, right? So if this thing fell to the bottom VWAP, I was going to go with the flow and try to go with TQs. And so in the morning, this is what I was seeing right around here. I saw trading between the top and bottom VWAP, and it was doing exactly what it normally does, trading between the top, getting rejected, falling to the bottom, and bouncing. And so once it was able to push to the top, I think I was able to make a little money on SQs here. And then as it bounced up and pushed back down, here's where I revisited the Nasdaq and was watching it again. And I decided to get into a TQ play, right? Because it's been very bullish the past 5 days. And so the very first time I tried to get into TQ play again, it ultimately, the pattern broke, which really frustrated me today. And it ultimately ended up flushing me out and losing me money. So what I did wrong was I fell in love with the pattern. It's a very consistent pattern, but it doesn't mean it has to always follow. And as you guys can see, this is a classic example of when a pattern tends to break. So as this thing broke support, rather than cut losses, I continue to keep an SQ position and ultimately ended up paying the price on this one, or TQs, my apologies, right? So I got into TQs here thinking it would bounce, but as it flushed down, I refused to cut losses until I took a big loss. So that's something I struggled with today. It's falling in love with trades. This whole week I've been trying to predict reversals on the Nasdaq, and I've also been trying or been falling in love with some trades, which has costed me a decent amount of money this week. So that's definitely something I want to improve on when it comes to me trading in the future. But that I just wanted to walk you guys through why I may have been upset today, and that was mainly because I tried getting into TQs after getting burned by these SQ plays all the time, and once it didn't happen, it really frustrated me. And whenever you do start to feel like you're frustrated, it's always good to just take a step back, take a break, and come back later, right? Like if I was able to do that, just cut my loss and take a break and come back, I could have made monies on this reversal here or on this sell-off. So, or I actually did make some money on the sell-off, but I took no part of this reversal, so that's something I can improve on in the future. In terms of momentum stocks, I did trade only one stock, or I did trade a few, but only one of them that went off, and that was ticker symbol CLVR. So as you guys can see, this thing was trading right around the $2 price point in the morning, and I decided to buy in with $200 worth. But as it started to get rejected and flush me down, I actually averaged down 50% of my position. So I was only in with $100, but mainly because I realized how volatile this thing was, and I didn't want to risk being in with $200. That's just my personal preference, but everyone is different, right? So as this thing was able to pick up and push up to the top VWAP, it ultimately flushed down, and I noticed that it was still holding very strong right around these pre-market lows of right around 190 price point. And so as it started to break above the middle VWAP and make these higher highs and higher lows, that's what really attracted me. So I decided to get back in when it took a bit of a bigger dip right around this area and finally recovered. And this thing went on a huge run. So this was technically the biggest trade I've ever had, percentage wise, right? Not dollar wise. So I was in with $100 and was able to make $72, right? So over 72% return on this one, which is absolutely insane. I'm very grateful for that, especially because I was red on the day. Today was should have been a red day. I was going to be down about 60, $70, but the fact that this thing really ripped the last hour of the market is what put me green on the day, so I am grateful for that. If you guys saw my recap from yesterday, you would have seen that I was trading these type of momentum plays, and this is the exact reason why I love to focus on them, because when there is momentum, these things really, really rip, right? So they go on these huge tears, and as long as the momentum's there, which is why I have a main focus on buying in at these cheaper points. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to break down today. At least I did trade a few other stocks that flushed me out, like AGRI and FGRE. So this is how these looked, right? So they were also very oversold, but continue to sell off, unfortunately. The momentum just wasn't there, right? Just wasn't there, and it lost me a bit of money, but nothing too crazy. And then the other one was FRGE, right? So FRGE, this one was the same thing. So it's a bit of a newer stock, which is what I liked because it's still trying to, validate its resistance and support levels. But ultimately, the momentum just wasn't able in the morning here when I got in to really pick up. So that's why I decided to cut it. But yeah, I hope you guys all ended on a green note this Friday. And yeah, I hope you guys all have plans for the weekend. And other than that, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.